Good morning, 8 o'clock. Time to go. Showtime. Good morning, everybody. I have your previous, what you turned into me yesterday up here at the front. You're welcome to have those back. You might want to study those, your worksheets, medical terminology sheets. Those who didn't turn your quiz into me, who got a dirty email from me yesterday, make sure I get that this morning, please. Also, if you didn't turn in your getting to know you sheets, you also got an email from me about that. If I don't get to know you, how will I know who to give the grades to, So gotta make sure you turn those into me. So you survived your first day at Parker, yes? Awesome. I did too. When you go 2 weeks without hardly saying a word, then you spend all your time talking. I had a sore throat last night. I had to drink that whiskey Dr. S gave me for my birthday to solve that sore throat problem, No beer, no, not beer. I had to use whiskey last night, cut that tar out of my throat. What kind of whiskey was that, Dr. S? Yeah, I don't remember. Jim Beam or something like that? All right. Y'all got the email from Dr. Baggett, yes? I prodded her to send the email several times yesterday. So every time y'all sent me an email about palpation, I forwarded it to her. What do you do about this? So those who had Monday lab, don't worry. She'll make it up this next Monday, so just go to lab as normal. If you have palpation lab this week, though, go. Right? So, if you have it like today or tomorrow or Friday, you should go, yes? We're all cool with that, right? All right, cool. All right, so that's it. Anatomy labs meet right down the hall on the left. And as far as this is the anatomy portion of the lab, you can bring your Gray's Anatomy book. That's a huge book. The Gray's Anatomy book's a giant book. I wouldn't really probably bring that. Your Netter's is a good book to have in labs. It has all the pictures in it. Okay? And anatomy's about pictures. Okay? Guys, you can actually buy the book and not lie about it and just look at the pictures. Okay? You don't have to lie anymore about that. You can actually buy the book for the pictures and not the articles, So, y'all don't know what I'm talking about. That's all right. All right, yes, you do. All right, what I would bring to lab is, and for some reason this is really bizarre, but didn't get saved on here. I did some changes on these slides that didn't get changed. That's okay. I'm still learning this new process up here. If you're going to bring one thing to lab, bring your PowerPoints. Bring your lecture PowerPoint slides. If you have one thing to bring to lab, that's all you can bring, I'd bring my lecture PowerPoint slides. Because everything's in there. Okay? It may not be organized as pretty as Gray's Anatomy textbook and things like that, but it's all in there. So you can find all the answers to the questions and things in your PowerPoint. So if you can bring one thing, bring your PowerPoints. Okay? Bring something to write with. And we're going to do teams next week. We'll do lab teams. You'll be in those teams the rest of the trimester, and I'll do random assignment of teams. So we'll take care of that next week, though. Okay? When we take the team quiz and things like that, we'll do all that next week. I gave you a sheet yesterday with the lab quizzes, right? So you know how that's set up. Everybody ever done team-based learning? Team-based learning, it's different, but we'll do an individual quiz, and then you'll come together as your team and take the quiz. And your grade is the average of those two grades. Your individual grade plus a team grade. Okay? So, and the purpose of that is to get you to discuss the questions and to kind of talk about this stuff and to learn it better. All right? So that's what this slide says. All your pre-lab worksheets, which when those are due is on your calendar. Your lab calendar tells you when pre-lab worksheets, may I borrow this? You have something called a lab calendar. It looks kind of like this. Y'all seen that? You need to find this in Blackboard if you haven't seen it. And it tells you when your pre-lab worksheets are due. Those pre-lab worksheets are on Blackboard. Those need to be handwritten, not typed. There's a reason for that. Evidence-based research supports that if you handwrite something, you learn it better than if you type it. Okay? It requires more of your brain to write than to type. Also, I don't know if you typed it and sent it to the rest of the class and the rest of the class copied your work. Does that make sense? So handwrite it. If it's not handwritten, I'm going to hand it back to you. So make sure it's handwritten. I use email to communicate with you. Most of you who've emailed me know I get back to you pretty quick. Unless it's after 8 o'clock at night. My wife draws a line there. She's always on me. Who are you emailing now? What student problem? That's what I do. I enjoy my students. I love you guys. God, family, students. That's the way it is, So, although sometimes she thinks it's God, students, family, but, I'm available most nights till 8 o'clock, so if you've got questions, let me know. Even on weekends, even on holidays, I'll respond. So let me know if you have a question or problem. Don't remain ignorant. Ask. All right? I love this picture. Look at the intelligence in that animal's eyes. Isn't that amazing? Can't you see that? Doesn't it look like he's thinking like, who are these humans, Grading, 3 exams, 10% apiece. There's 5 lab practicals, 3 lab practicals in the anatomy portion, 2 lab practicals in palpation. All right? So that's 5 practicals. Classroom pop quizzes, which are chances to shine, or bonus. So basically, those add to your tests that are bonus points. Okay, so come to class, take the pop quizzes. It helps you out. 10 lab quizzes. There's going to be 11, but I'll take the top 10. I dropped the lowest quiz grade. I'll tell you this now, you'll probably forget, but Blackboard does not take the lowest grade and drop it off. It still posts all 11 grades, but only counts the top 10. So at the end of the class, you'll still see 11 grades there, but it's only counting the top 10. Okay, just so you know. And 1 final, which is 10%. Now notice, everything's 10%. I went to Texas A&M. Whoop, I'm not real smart, right? So, I have to keep things simple, right? So, that's just what I do. So everything's 10%. Also, that means if you blow something, it's not catastrophic to your grade, right? You can have a bad day and it doesn't kill you. So like some classes have 2 tests and a final and everything's worth 30%. Well, that's pretty devastating if you blow one of them, right? So we don't do that. It's 100%. Grades are A, B, C, and F. There's no D grade here. You know that, right? D does not stand for doctor, right? All right, exams. Most of my exams are 100 questions. Matter of fact, they all are 100-question exams. Multiple choice for the most part. The written tests are, this is the written exams. Okay? They're all cumulative because it builds. This is not like undergraduate where you take a test and blow it off and save for the next material. It's all cumulative. It all builds. Okay? And I post grades. Those who know me know I'm pretty fast at posting grades. Usually within a couple hours of taking your exam. Okay, now, we will have some fill-in-the-blank lab practicals, and those will take me longer than a couple hours to grade with this many people. So it may be the next day before I get your grades posted on fill-in-the-blank lab quizzes. Okay, just so you know. Yes, sir?
For the exams that are 100 questions and stuff, are they Scantron?
They're Scantron, yes. And I will provide you the Scantron sheet. I'll provide you the Scantron sheet. I'll provide you the exam. All you got to do is provide a pencil. Number 2 pencil. Okay, good question. All right? So I'll get you Scantron sheets. I'll take care of all that for you. All right? No problemo. If you have questions concerning your grade, you have 2 weeks to come see me. After that, I put the quizzes away and we worry about the next material. Okay? So, practicals, they're going to be fill in the blank this trimester. And they were last trimester as well. I think it worked out real well. I know you hate fill-in-the-blank quizzes, but it makes you a better student. It really does. And my whole point is to make you the best anatomy student I can make you. And like I said, you'll hate me now, but you'll love me later. So just bear with me. You'll get through this. And I'll prepare you for these as we go, okay? So, don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging out there. They're timed practicals. They cover materials presented both in lecture and lab. Lab is not a separate course. Lecture and lab are one course, okay? Just we look at in lab what we talk about in lecture. All right? And we use lab models, pictures of models, things like that, and I'll show you these. And again, I'll prepare you for this. I'll give you plenty of reviews. I'll give you plenty of opportunities to ask questions. I'll adequately prepare you for this, I promise you. All right? All right, pop quizzes. We know what the bonus quizzes. They'll take them just like a test. All those are bonus points. It's just like a test. No notes, no nothing. And again, if we have Scantrons, most of these are Scantron, I'll give you the Scantron sheets. I had to buy a whole truckload of Scantrons for this class because it's such a big class. It's like bringing in a whole box of Scantrons. All right. Exam dates are on your labs, on your lecture calendar. Make sure you know where those dates are, okay? Go over that. Yeah, it can be done. We're going to stop every now and then in a lecture and have a little time to reflect. We're going to let you talk about what we've talked about. And so I'll give you a minute or two to talk with your partner about these concepts we talked about, and sometimes I'll let you share back with me, okay? Whenever I turn you loose to talk amongst yourself, there's going to be a lot of noise. To try to get you to focus back on me and get you recentered, I will do this. I will go, and then you respond by, all right? So when you hear you go, and then we all get back focused, okay? Just like grade school, no problem, right? That's right. I've got several nannies in here, so I've got several people watching you, okay? They're used to taking care of children, all right? We're all children, right? Don't be insulted by that. It's all right. We're all kids, right? When you get my age, you want to be a kid again, trust me, you know? It's like you go to your second childhood, you know? It's really weird how life is. How you kind of start off as a child in diapers, you end up as a child in diapers, you know? I haven't got that far yet, but, you know, I heard it's coming. All right? It's called a chance to reflect. I expect you to come to class prepared. I told you this yesterday. Read over your notes. I'm amazed how many chances to shine pop test I give, and the quizzes are in your notes ahead of time, okay? And people still make 10s and 20s and 30s on those quizzes, so that means they never looked at them. Now, I reserve the chance to change those questions sometimes, all right? So they may not be verbatim, but they should be close. So if you've studied it, you should still do all right. All right? You are responsible for all material on your PowerPoint slides, and everything that's in your lecture guide, which means your PowerPoints, things like that. So it's all fair game, right? You retain about 8% of what you hear. Not much. Less than 10% of what you hear will you retain. You retain about 30% of what you write down. What's the take-home message there? Take notes, right? Take notes, write things down. That last drop of whiskey got me a little drunk here. And 78% of what you write down and then review again later. What's the take-home message there? Take notes and go home and review it. That's right. But look at this. You retain 90% of what you write down, review again later, and then talk about it. So you write it down, you go home and review it, and then you talk to your friends about it, your study buddies. Okay? And then have them quiz you. And then you get to lab each week and have them quiz you over the material you covered during lecture. Now you will notice that lab will be a little bit ahead of lecture for the first couple weeks. Okay? So you actually be talking about things in lab before we talk about them in lecture. So we're going to kind of flip it the first couple weeks to catch up, all right? That's what the daddy tomato said to the baby tomato, right? Come on, catch up, right? That's right. All right. My favorite joke of all times, what did the fish say when he swam into the concrete wall? Damn. So, read over the material the night before each lecture. Come to class prepared. Be prepared to listen, interact when we talk about things. Take notes in class. Make study cards at home. You know how to make study cards? If not, we'll talk about that sometime. I'll tell you about study cards. Make study cards like you take a test. You will take about 450 tests over the next 3 years. 450 exams. That's a lot. Anybody in here not a good test taker? You're not a good test taker? Guess what? You need to become a good test taker. I have a professional golfer in here. How'd you become a professional golfer? Did you just go out there first day on the course and did you just hit one ball and expect to be a professional golfer? Did you have to practice? You practiced hitting balls hundreds and hundreds of times? You're kidding me. Did you also practice on what you were the worst at, or did you always spend the time what you're the best at? Always the worst at, right? Okay, so in other words, how you get to be a professional is by practicing over and over and over. They estimate that, you just saw the Olympics, right? Those high board divers, those guys who jump off the very high board, they estimate that those people probably made those dives over 10,000 times. Can you imagine diving 10,000 times? Most of the research support out there supports that it takes at least 10,000 times to become a master of anything. 10,000 repetitions. I bet you've hit 10,000 golf balls in your life. More than that, right? But you have to do that. So you have to study this. So how do you become a good test taker? You practice taking tests. How do you practice taking tests? You convert your notes into a question-answer format. And so you study them in a question-answer format. You have your quiz, your friends quiz you all the time. Everything's a test. Life is a test, right? So do that, and I'll help you if you have questions. Form study groups. What makes the great great and the mediocre mediocre? Domain knowledge. Domain knowledge. What is domain knowledge? Tell me? Area of expertise. Probably I have an area of expertise in anatomy. You're betting it, right? You're hoping. You haven't seen it yet, but you're hoping for the best, right? You're giving me the benefit of the doubt. So I have domain knowledge. I didn't get domain knowledge overnight. I got domain knowledge by years and years and years of study, yes? You will have domain knowledge of chiropractic in 3.5 years because you're going to spend 3.5 years studying that. So you'll have the domain knowledge. The second thing is what we were talking about is deliberate practice. Deliberate practice, not mindless practice. You know, I go to the gym, you know, this body didn't come cheap. This took a lot of work to get this body, all right? And when I go to the gym, I like to do the things that are easy for me, you know? I mean, the giant biceps, you know, I like to do the curls and things, you know, because that's easy. But I hate doing back extensions and triceps pull-downs because it's not easy for me. But what should I be doing? The back extensions and triceps pull-downs because those are the ones I need to work on, right? So they become easy like everything else. So you want to deliberate practice. Practice on what you're not good at. 10,000 hours. We just talked about that. You want to practice recalling the information. What did he say about that? I can't remember. So go to the podcast and hear it again. All right? Practice recalling the information and motivation. Motivation is the single most important factor beyond attitude. You have to want to do this. Did you take classes as undergraduates that every day you walk in there going, oh, God, just get me through this? Did you ever do that? Please, Lord, let this pass. You know? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow, right? Right? Did you have classes like that? Hopefully this class is not like that. Hopefully this class is not like that. All right? Hopefully this is class you're motivated to want to learn this. Okay? Psalms 23, right? That's what I thought. Got to check. I got an expert in here. I got to check on this stuff, man. He's watching everything I say. That's right. So, hopefully you're motivated to learn this. Are you motivated to learn anatomy? Yes. Think about this. I've taught this course for over, should I tell them how long, Dr. S? 30 years. And yet I am still as motivated and as excited today as I was 30 years ago. How do I maintain that motivation? How do I maintain that excitement? Because I love what I do. I'm fulfilling God's purpose for my life. Okay, that's what God wanted me to do. It's not for my glory, it's His glory, right? That's what we talk about. So that's why I have this excitement. I want you to have the same excitement. If you don't, I'll come choke it out of you. Okay? I mean, you know, we'll just make sure you breathe it. All right, here we go. Evidence-based research, the most important ingredient to successful studying is what you think about. I told you that yesterday, right? What you think about while you're studying. So if while you're studying, you're thinking about your wife in another room and you really want to be with her, not studying, what should you go do? Go be with her. Forget studying. Okay? If something's distracting you from studying, go take care of that so when you come back and study, you can concentrate on studying. It's important. It's critical. It is the single most important factor in learning. It's what you think about while you're studying. So right now, set you up a schedule. Who's married? Who has a significant other living at home with them, other not married? Or whatever, okay? Someone there distracting you, right? I mean, am I right? Spouses and people living in our homes are distractions. They are. Kids they're parasitic distractions. Who has kids? Are they not parasites? Of course they're parasites. You know, they live off your body, then they're born and they live off your pocketbook. You know, it's just the way it is. It's normal. You're still a parasite. You know, your parents go, there's a parasite home again, you know. What you talk about, what you think about, you have got to get rid of the distractions. So you set up a schedule now and say, honey, Monday through Friday till 10 o'clock every night, I have got to study. But on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday is your days, okay? And I will devote my time 100% to you during that time, but you got to let me have 100% during the week to study for my courses. Now, I'm just giving that as an example. That way, when you're with the missus or whoever, you're not thinking about studying. Because she knows when you're not focused on her, right? Does she not? Of course she does. Or he does, or whatever, right? They know. So when you're with them, you focus on them. When you're studying, you focus on studying, okay? And if you do that now, you'll be much more successful. I promise you. When your attention is shifted, it takes 3 to 4 minutes to get back on task. The single biggest detriment to your studying is this right here. This is called a cell phone. It is a problem, and you don't realize it because you don't remember the days when there wasn't one of these. Most of you were born in 1990s. I checked out your sheets last night. I read all your sheets. You know where I spent my birthday? Eating at Perrine's restaurant. Where's my 2 people here who know where Perrine's is? There's one of them right there. There's one of them right there. Excellent food, man. I'm telling you, best dadgum etouffee I've had in years, man. All right. I read your books last night for those who gave me your getting to know you sheets. So I know a lot of you more than you know. This is your biggest problem. Every time this thing dings, what do you do? Oh, God, who is that? Am I right? And it shifts your focus. You know, when they first came out, they said, remind me later. Okay, remind me later. All right, when they first came out with hyperlinks, you know what hyperlinks are? They thought they were going to be the greatest asset the world is studying because you could dwell deeper into the material. All right? You know what? They're the biggest detriment to your studying because you get sidetracked. You chase this rabbit, and you chase this rabbit, and you chase this rabbit. And by the time you finish chasing rabbits, you don't remember what you were studying in the first place. Am I right? Of course I'm right. True? This is the problem. So you know what you want to do when you're studying? Turn it off. Oh, I can't live without it. One of my friends may Facebook me. They'll still be there in an hour, I promise you. You know? So turn this off. This is a distraction to you. Good intentions never overcome bad study habits. Oh, but Doc, I really have great intentions to be the best. Because a lot of you put on your things that what you like about yourself is your work ethic. And you're very motivated. I hope that's true. We're going to find out. All right? Because I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to be the best you can be. Handwritten notes, better recall. Laptop computers and cell phones decrease classroom understanding due to distractions. It is a proven fact. High five. Therefore, in this class, I do not allow laptops or cell phones. No electronic devices in this classroom. So if you have one, turn it off. Put it up, bring it in here, but leave it in your book bag. I want handwritten notes. I want old school stuff. We're going to go back to old school times. If you have it today, it's okay, but tomorrow, just make sure you don't have it. If I see a cell phone, if I see a laptop, I'm going to come over and turn it off. If I see you on your cell phone in class, I will embarrass you. I don't know your names yet, but I will. That's my former students. I'll learn your names. I want to know who you are. I just got your pictures yesterday. Bless you. So it's going to take me a couple of weeks to do this, especially being a big class like this. It took me, how long till I knew Dr. Sokensang? I called you Dr. S for years, yeah. It took me a long time to learn that, didn't it? Dr. S showed up this morning with this little piece of paper right here. Where's that piece of paper, Doc? I have your pictures. I have all your pictures right here. Some of y'all didn't take your pictures, though. Some of y'all, like Evelyn Collins, I have this image unavailable. I don't know why they didn't get your picture. You need to go get your picture taken. So some of you have to look at just the image unavailable, so I don't know what to do. Maybe they'll get you on there eventually. I hope so. All right? So on Blackboard, I put an essay about study skills, how to study. It's an older essay written several years ago, but it tells you the secrets of success of how to study. It basically does. And guess what? It's things like motivation, time management, organization. It's things you know. Have you figured out how to use Blackboard yet? Have you figured out how to navigate Blackboard? Anyone here having problems navigating Blackboard or finding things? Yes, no? Everybody's pretty cool? Dr. S said I should spend a day going over Blackboard with you, and I will do that during one of the tutorial sessions. Every Monday at noon in this classroom, we will have a tutorial session with me and Dr. S. So we come, you can bring your lunch, you can bring anything, you can come and go as you want to, but we'll come in here at noon every Monday to answer any questions you have. And if some of you need help with Blackboard, tell me, and I'll go, this coming Monday, I'll go over Blackboard with you. I'll navigate you through Blackboard. It's okay if you don't understand. Most of you, like I said, are probably grew up with computers and things, so you know. All right? You're going to be busy in here. Basic rules of conduct, be on time. I like to start promptly on time. It's distractions when you walk in late. Be courteous to your fellow classmates. Do not talk, eat, sleep, or be disruptive in class. And if you have a problem, come to me. All right? Let me know ahead of time. That's about the third time I've told you that, right? Let me know what's going on in your life so I can help you. And here's my note. No cell phones, no laptop computers in class. Well, that's not fair. Oh, life's not fair. You know, I had a student get mad at me last time and throw down. And the student told me he refused to kill trees and print off paper, that he would rather use electronic devices and kill trees. So I've loaned him some paper, you know, so he can use my trees, not his trees, right? We use recycled paper, by the way, just so you know. All right, so I had to overcome that. Oop, back. Here's my chicken horror movie. Right, okay, let's get cooking. Be service-oriented. I think Dr. Jim said, loving service, my first technique. Have you heard that? LSMFT. Several of you were CAs in here. Many of you work for chiropractors, which I think is awesome. Yeah, I got CAs. I got billing managers. I've got, you know, front desk people in here. I've got a lot of people who understand the concept of service. Service-oriented is what it's all about. We are providing a service, right? And we're being paid for that service. It's critical to have a service mentality. I think that's what I'm doing for you, to be honest with you. I think I'm providing a service, right? Basically, yes. That's why yesterday when I mentioned that I hold myself to a different standard, because I have such a great responsibility. I'm influencing your minds. I'm influencing the way you think. So that's service, providing that service. To be ready to help or be useful. Is this important to be a good exam room doctor, to have a service mentality? You ever met doctors or any people who, what about Home Depot? You been to Home Depot lately? They've changed. We have some people who worked at Home Depot in here. Got a couple of Walmart people in here too. That's my ultimate job. That's what I ultimately want to do, is be a greeter at Walmart. Howdy, welcome, come on into Walmart. That's what I'm practicing for. One day, can you see me? 85 years old, no teeth. Hi, come on in. Is it important to be service, right? Because when you get bad service, it doesn't matter. A lot of servers in here. A lot of people. We actually have an AT&T bartender in here. AT&T stadium bartender in here. Yep. You can help me with that whiskey problem I got, right? Yeah, good. All right. The problem is I don't have any. No, just kidding. Have you been to someplace before and had great food but lousy service? And you didn't go back, did you? Right? Service, I don't care how great a doctor you are, you give crummy service, people won't come back. You know? So you got to give good service. All right, first lab, we did this. We talked about medical terminology. Why do we learn medical terminology? We did this we turned this in yesterday, our medical terminology worksheets. Why did I have you do that prior to class starting, and why is it important to know medical terminology? I can get my box here and throw it to you. Holler at me. You've got to deal with other doctors. You've got to read journals. You've got to take tests. Did you remember the little test we took yesterday, the little quiz, which I won't grade till later on, because I don't want to bum you out, you know. Would it have been helpful to understand medical terminology to take that quiz we took yesterday? Like subglenoid fossa, you know, Mid-shaft humerus, I mean, things like that we talked about, right? So buy a dictionary. I have several Puerto Rican friends in here. I love Puerto Rico. I've never been there, but I want to go one day because the people I've met from Puerto Rico are just great people. But if I moved to Puerto Rico tomorrow and couldn't speak Spanish, I'd probably be in trouble, right? So what would be the first thing I'd do if I moved to a foreign country? What's the first thing I'd buy me? A dictionary. An English-Spanish dictionary, right? So guess what? You've moved to a foreign country called anatomy. So buy yourself a medical dictionary. All right? There's several out there. Dorland's is what I like. Stedman's out there. Tabor's, there's all sorts of them. And now you get the apps. Even the apps on your cell phone work even better than having to buy a dictionary. Have the app. Okay? I'm old school. I like books. I like to turn pages. It's just the way I am. Get you a dictionary. For the first lab we have next week, bring your embryology textbook and your embryology notes. Print those off, your embryology PowerPoint notes. Okay, print those off and bring them to lab next week. We'll go over embryology in the lab next week along with the skull. All right. So let's get into anatomy. All that was introductory stuff. It usually takes about the first hour of class. Took a little bit more time yesterday because we had a guest speaker and things. So how's the roll sheet coming? We're getting it passed around? Are most of you on it this time? I spent yesterday morning and afternoon revising the roll sheet. If you're not on there, just write your name in there, though. But I think everybody should be on there at this point. So I updated it to make sure it was good. We need to know the human body. We need to know the human. Did you remember what Dr. Morgan said yesterday? That chiropractic students know their anatomy better than medical students do? And it's true. Because that's what we do every single day of our life is we deal with anatomy. And anatomic dysfunctions, okay, and although I hate to use the word, but I'll use it, although it's not correct 100%, realignment of the body. Get the body back in sync. Balance the innate, right? That takes anatomical understanding. Later on in class, they'll talk to you about posterior atlas, posterior superior ilium, sacral base posterior. They'll talk to you about listings, different vertebral listings. You need to understand this terminology and this anatomy to be able to understand those listings. Okay? The whole purpose of anatomy is to get you to be able to see with your fingers. Because that's what we do is we touch people, right? And we deliver the adjustment through our hands or through instruments by using our hands, just as activator and things like that. I remember the very first time in school when I first felt a bladder on a dog. It's like, because for a long time it just felt like a dog, you know? And one day I was feeling the abdomen and suddenly I went, the bladder. And it was just like, wow. You know, I mean, I could actually feel it. And that's when I began to learn to see with my fingers. And if you watch me today palpate, the first dog I ever adjusted in my life was a dog named Sparky. It's a Cocker Spaniel. Sparky came into my clinic. She called me. This was back in 1992, before, again. And she called me and said, Doc, my dog is having seizures, and I heard maybe chiropractic can help, and if you can't help, I'm going to have to put Sparky to sleep. That's pressure, right? If you don't do what you say you can do, I'm going to have to kill my dog. Okay? Never adjusted a dog in my life. Never. First one. But I took some courses here on campus. I extrapolated that knowledge back to my animals. And so when she first came to me with Sparky, Sparky came into my clinic, and Sparky came in like this. He wouldn't even move his neck at all, just walking very stiff-legged like this. And I reached down to pet Sparky's head, and when I did, Sparky fell on his back, and he started shivering. She said, that's the seizures he's having. But it did not look like a normal seizure to me. She'd been to 3 different veterinary clinics, was on 4 different drugs for seizures, okay? And this dog couldn't function, basically. He was so doped up. I picked up Sparky. I put him on the table. It took me an hour to adjust this dog. Okay, every single bone I was trying to feel like, okay, there's the atlas. You know, it took me an hour. If you watch me palpate your dog now, it's like, thank you. Why can I do it in 30 seconds what took me an hour back in those days. Because it's deliberate practice in domain knowledge, and now I've got it. Okay, I've been adjusting since 92. All right? Anyway, so felt Sparky's neck. I could feel the right side of his atlas. Seemed like it's a lot more posterior or dorsal than the left side. So I determined he had a right posterior atlas. So I had an activator instrument, and I said, okay, this is really bad. So I just cranked it all the way out full force, which you're not supposed to do that. I didn't know that at the time. And I put that instrument on Sparky's neck, and I went, kapow! And when I did, he collapsed on the table. All 4 legs went straight out, collapsed on the table like this, all right? The lady goes, ah! Now, as a professional, you learn to maintain a professional physiognomy. She looked at me and I said, don't worry, they all do that. Which was true, right? Because, I'd never done it before, right? So I said, don't worry. So, in the back of my mind, I'm going, crap, I broke his neck. I've killed him, you know? So I pick him up off the table, and I set him on the floor, and I'm saying, dear God, please stand on all 4 legs. He stood there for a second. Okay, that's a good sign. He stood there, and he kind of shivered, and all of a sudden he shook. He shook from his tail all the way down to his nose, all the way down to his tail. Flapped those big old Cocker Spaniel ears. And she went, wow. She said, he has not done that in years. I said, they all do that. Which is true. They actually do. Okay, come to find that they all shake like that when you give them a good adjustment. And then he kind of trotted out. And I'm like going, oh, dear God, thank you. I said, of course, I'm thinking during the night, the swelling's going to set in, you know, from the fractured vertebra, the medulla's going to get shut off. He's going to die of respiratory failure during the night. So the next morning, I called her with great trepidation. I said, how's Sparky? And she says, Doc, she said, he's a different dog. She said, he's gone home. He hasn't had any more of those seizures. Okay, he's playing with his ball for the first time in years. He's a different dog. And I'm like, thank you, okay? And she came back for 2 more visits after that and never saw him ever. He actually died about 10 years later of liver cancer, which is completely unrelated. But the point is that I had to have anatomic knowledge. I knew my facet angles. I knew what to do, although I'd never done it before, right? And it worked out good. And thank goodness my first adjustment was a success. Had it not been a success, I may not be here today. You know, if I'd really broke his neck, I'd probably be, you know, doing something else, working at Walmart. Hi, welcome to Walmart. Okay. All right. So, you want to learn what you touch. Now, palpation is not the same thing as groping. And I'm being serious. You be respectful when you palpate. You ask people before you touch them. Okay? May I palpate you? May I touch you? Okay? If they say no, then you respect their boundaries. You respect people's boundaries. So you be very respectful, very professional when it comes to palpation. That's important. Okay? You do not cross that line because you are in a profession that's set up, okay, to cross those boundaries, meaning that you know how many chiropractors get sued because of crossing that line? So you got to be careful because you touch people. And some people are very sensitive about being touched. So be respectful. And I'm serious. Be very respectful with that. All right. Dr. Jim said, your feelings attract your life to you. Your feelings attract your life to you. Someone tell me what this means. I love it. Are we still on? They left it on all night. Great. Is this working? Can you tell? Uh-oh. Battery's dead. They didn't tell me how to change the battery. Okay. No problem. We'll figure it out later. Someone tell me what this means. Malik, right? I'll learn eventually.
I think it means your attitude determines your success.
Ooh, I like that. Attitude determines success. I like that. Anybody else got any ideas? Please. Sorry. Trying.
Okay, the way someone feels is going to be portrayed through their actions. And so if someone has a negative attitude, they're going to attract negative energy.
I like that. So if you have a negative attitude, you attract negative energy, right? I learned a similar saying back in school, that birds of a feather flock together. Same thing, right? What goes around comes around. Karma. Isn't that all similar to that? Right? So, if you wonder why so many negative people are hanging around you, maybe you should look in the mirror. Haven't you noticed that? Aren't smiles contagious? And negative attitudes are contagious? So think about that sometimes when you're wondering, like, how come everybody's so negative around me? Well, maybe it's because of you. What is anatomy? Anatomy is the study of the organism, structure. Final exam question. Anatomy is the study of the structure. It's structure. We'll talk about function in here, which is really physiology. Physiology is the study of function. We'll talk about function because it makes it more interesting. But it's basically structure. It's parts. All the parts, how they go together. Next trimester, you learn gross anatomy with Dr. Peter and Dr. Brahm. And they'll talk about this looking at with your eyes. Dr. S, this trimester will teach you cells and tissues, which is the histological or microscopic component of anatomy. So you can see what it looks like down on a cellular level. All right? It's derived from the Greek word which means to cut up. That's what we anatomists do. We cut things up. We cut them into their parts. Right? We cut them into their respective parts. You're fortunate here at Parker. We still have cadaveric dissection, where we dissect cadavers as opposed to some schools just have prosected models. Some schools just use computerized models. I think when I first developed a willed body program back in the 1990s, which I did develop that actually, we brought that here because I thought it was a tremendous asset to you to be able to see it and touch it as opposed to just looking at it. So you can see the three-dimensional and touch the three-dimensional, the cadavers. We'll talk about anatomy in here via a systemic approach. Gross anatomy you'll discuss next trimester versus a regional approach. What's the difference in systemic versus regional? Someone tell me. Talk to them.
Regional is area, and then systemic is the entire body.
Okay, good. So regional is areas, like thoracic region, where systems are different body systems, like digestive system, respiratory system, cardiovascular system. So each region would have multiple systems in it, right? Yeah, good. This is from the Greek city of, is it Ephesus or Ephesus? How would you say that? Ephesus? Ephesus, where Paul wrote the letters to the Ephesians, right? And John wrote about the book of Revelations. Okay, but what is that? Can you see this from where you are? It's a shaft or staff with a snake around it. What is that? Yeah, caduceus or Asclepius, right? It's a sign of healing. So this goes way back. Look to the nervous system as a key to maximum health, Claudius Galen said. All right? Galen discovered a relationship between the nervous system and the spine and healing. He was called the Prince of Physicians. If you would seek health, look first to the spine, Socrates said. Get knowledge of the spine, for this is the requisite of many diseases, Hippocrates said. So this whole thing about chiropractic goes way back. D.D. Palmer is given credit for discovering chiropractic in 1895, right? D.D. Palmer, 1895, but he didn't discover chiropractic. He'd been here for ages, right? He just kind of brought it to the forefront. He discovered it from an aspect of who made it an actual science. What's the word chiropractic mean? Do you know? To practice with your hands. That's exactly right. To practice with your hands. That's what D.D. brought. But it was known long before that. He made old men young, and this prolonged their lives greatly, Aristotle said, commenting on correcting disease via spinal manipulations. Anybody know who this is? It's Aristotle. You ever read the writings of Aristotle? Have you had time to do that yet in your life? And I realize I've got a few years on you. I've had a little bit more years of time to read than you have. You ever get a chance to read Aristotle's writings, Plato's writings? It's very interesting. Even the great Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and those. Great books to read if you ever get time. I know right now you don't have time, but someday you will. Aristotle said that a change in the state of the soul produces a change in the shape of the body. A change in the state of the soul produces a change in the shape of the body. Now, he's not talking about the soul like our soul that goes to heaven when we die. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about soul being a physiology of the body. your soul, your soul, your inner workings, your inner functions. A change in your physiology produces a change in the shape of your body. And a change in the shape of the body produces a change in the state of your physiology. Now, I can prove this to you. You ever been mad, angry? I mean, really mad, like really PO'd, you know, like going to kill someone mad? Can you look at someone, just look at the shape of their body and tell if they're mad? Can you not? Who has parents? Who stayed out past curfew? Or who did something that made mom and dad mad? And could you not walk in the room and tell mom and dad were mad just by looking at them? Could you not? Like, oops. And you looked at them and told they were mad, because anger is a forward, aggressive, sympathetic posture. It's a flexion posture. Okay? I'm angry. All right? Agree? So that change in my physiology, anger, do you think anger causes a physiological change in your body? It does. Causes things like cortisol secretion, epinephrine secretion, right? All those leukotrienes, all those inflammatory mediators are released when you're angry, right? And that causes a change in your shape of your body. Whereas love posture is a relaxed, extended posture. Okay? If I look at you and said, I love you, do you believe me? No. But if I say, I love you. Wow, cool, we had a moment. That's awesome. I don't even know your name yet. No, seriously, but did you see the difference? Right? Because love is a posture, a vulnerable posture. I'm open, I'm vulnerable. Okay? I'm not aggressive, I'm vulnerable. So, Aristotle knew about chiropractic before we even knew what chiropractic was, because you tell me that if I walk around like this all the time, it's not going to affect my overall health? I'm fine. I don't need to see a doctor. I'm great. One shoulder's higher than the other. No, it's not. I always get tickled at my students who sometimes get there and practice and goes, I'm having a hard time finding patients. I'm like, go to the mall. I mean, you see people all the time walking around going, yeah, nothing wrong with me. I'm doing great, man. Yeah. Or, this is the best one. No, I don't need any type of chiropractic care. That will lead to physical disease, I promise you. It will lead to physical disease. Some of the longest lived, most happy people I've ever known in my life are some of the financially poorest people I've ever known in my life. Why? Some of the most miserable people I've ever known in my life are some of the most financially rich people I've ever known in my life. Have you ever noticed that? You're sitting like, well, it wouldn't be me. Give me the money. I'll still be happy, right? We all think that. Have you ever read the stories about those people who win the lotteries? Do they turn out well? They don't. Because wealth, riches and wealth, is not in the form of a greenback dollar. Riches and wealth comes from inner joy, inner peace. And that's a whole different solution that we can talk about right now, but I'll talk with you about sometime. But that's where that comes from, right? And those people live for a long time. They're happy. They're joyful. Is joy and happiness the same thing? Happiness comes from the word happenstance, which means circumstances, right? People get happy because things around them are happy. Inner joy transcends happiness, right? So what he's saying here is if you don't fix this change in the state of your soul, you can't fix the change in the shape of your body. If you don't fix the change in the shape of your body, you can't fix the change in the state of your soul, which is what you're going to do for the next 50 years. You're going to change this about people. You're going to change this world one spine at a time. You're going to make this place a better place. I can tell you stories about couples who couldn't conceive children, who were infertile for years, who had chiropractic adjustment and conceived children. I can tell you about people who were severely depressed for years, had one chiropractic adjustment and stopped their depression. I can tell you all kinds of stories about animals who came to me with myriads of problems. And you tell me animals is a placebo effect? That dog doesn't come in going, I wonder if this dude's any good, man. You know, can I trust this dude? You know, they don't do that. Dogs innately know, right? Am I right? So you can't tell me it's a placebo effect when I adjust my animals, because it's not. It's a demonstrable change. All right? I've lost my. There it is. You got to watch me. I set this thing down places, so keep up with me. All right? If you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe this lady right here. I want you to watch this tonight. I'm not going to go over all this right now with you, but I want you to have a chance to watch this video. This is Dr. Amy Cuddy. She's a PhD, and hopefully this will work. Okay, well, it's on my screen, but it's not on your screen. There it is. I don't want to do this. I want to do that right there. I want you to just listen just for a second of this, and then I'm going to let you listen to it on your own. You ever watch TED Talks? You ever watch this? Cool stuff, right? This lady's not a chiropractor. She's a PhD, all right?
So I want to start by offering you a free, no-tech life hack. And all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. But before I give it away, I want to ask you to right now do a little audit of your body and what you're doing with your body. So how many of you are sort of making yourselves smaller? Maybe you're hunching, crossing your legs, maybe wrapping your ankles. Sometimes we hold on to our arms like this. Sometimes we spread out. I see you. So I want you to pay attention to what you're doing right now. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes, and I'm hoping that if you sort of learn to tweak this a little bit, it could significantly change the way your life unfolds. So we're really fascinated with body language, and we're particularly interested in other people's body language. You know, we're interested in, like, you know, an awkward interaction, or a smile, or a contemptuous glance, or maybe a very awkward wink, or maybe even something like a handshake.
Here they are arriving at number 10, and look at this lucky policeman gets to shake hands with the President of the United States. Oh, and here comes the Prime Minister of the... No.
So a handshake, or the lack of a handshake, can have us talking for weeks and weeks and weeks, even the BBC and the New York Times. So obviously, when we think about nonverbal behavior or body language, but we call it nonverbals as social scientists, it's language. So we think about communication. When we think about communication, we think about interactions. So what is your body language communicating to me? What's mine communicating to you? And there's a lot of reason to believe that this is a valid way to look at this. So social scientists have spent a lot of time looking at the effects of our body language or other people's body language on judgments. And we make sweeping judgments and inferences from body language. And those judgments can predict really meaningful life outcomes, like who we hire or promote, who we ask out on a date. For example, Nalini Ambady, a researcher at Tufts University, shows that when people watch 30-second soundless clips of real physician-patient interactions, their judgments of the physician's niceness predict whether or not that physician will be sued. So it doesn't have to do so much with whether or not that physician was incompetent, but do we like that person and how they interacted? Even more dramatic, Alex Todorov at Princeton has shown us that judgments of political candidates' faces in just 1 second predict 70% of U.S. Senate and gubernatorial race outcomes. And even, let's go digital, emoticons used well in online negotiations can lead you to claim more value from that negotiation. If you use them poorly, bad idea, right? So when we think of nonverbals, we think of how we judge others, how they judge us, and what the outcomes are. We tend to forget, though, the other audience that's influenced by our nonverbals, and that's ourselves. We are also influenced by our nonverbals, our thoughts and our feelings and our physiology. So what nonverbals am I talking about? I'm a social psychologist, I study prejudice, and I teach at a competitive business school. So it was inevitable that I would become interested in power dynamics. I became especially interested in nonverbal expressions of power and dominance. And what are nonverbal expressions of power?
Okay, I'm going to stop it because I want you to watch this. I hope I wetted your whistle a little bit, all right? She will talk to you in here about how you stand determines your cortisol and testosterone levels. How you stand determines your cortisol and testosterone levels. Would it be advantageous sometimes in your life to have low cortisol, higher testosterone? Because if I have high cortisol, low testosterone, guess what? What's that tell you about me? What am I? I'm stressed, right? I'm stressed. I'm not on my game. You don't want to have high cortisol levels when you make that putt for the Grand Tour Championship, right? You don't want to have that. You want to have high testosterone levels, low cortisol levels, because you want to have confidence in yourself. So she's going to tell you how you can stand for 2 minutes and change and physiologically change those levels in your body. She measured them. So that a change in the shape of your body produces a change in the state of your soul, which is what Aristotle said, and she proves it scientifically. So you might have a test question or two over this video at some point in your life. So it might behoove you to watch this video, all right? And I'm not going to tell you what the body posture is, because I want you to watch the video. Because I think she proves scientifically what we know chiropractically have known for years, since 1895 and since before that. Do you like that kind of stuff? A book I recommend every single woman in here read. And I have 2 daughters, so I'm a pro feminist. You know, I mean I am. I have 2 daughters, 2 successful daughters, 2 professional successful daughters, and so I'm very, very female oriented from that perspective. And I want you guys to succeed. And women have a different battle in life than we do, than we men do. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's a different battle. There's a book by Gavin de Becker, D-E-B-E-C-K-E-R, Gavin de Becker. And the daggum title just escaped me. I'll think of it in a minute. Hold on. Watch this. Don't use these in class, all right? Oh, man. We just lost my widgets. Where's the widgets go? Hold on. I'll get the book. I'll get the book name for you. This is legit. Come on, widgets. Widgets. Hold on. We'll find it here. Gavin de Becker. Someone tell me, can you find it faster than I can? You're not supposed to use that in class. Don't do it. Where is my Google search? Oh, well, it just went away. Anyway, read this book by Gavin de Becker. Gavin de Becker talks about the fact that you can predict people's actions by their body language. Wasn't there a movie called True Lies and something like that? And when there also, that was with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, which is a good movie. It has nothing to do with this. Yeah, Lie to Me. That's what I'm trying to think. Lie to Me. Okay, watch this. Okay, come on. Gavin de Becker's book. Okay, Google. Gavin de Becker. Hold on. It's coming up. Be right here in a minute. I don't want him. I want his book. The Gift of Fear. That's it. The Gift of Fear. The Gift of Fear, written in 1997 by Gavin de Becker. I would love every woman in here to read that book at some point. The guys too. Because he talks in that book about how to predict who the good guys are and who the bad guys are by their body language. And you need to know that. Okay? Just like every woman here should take some type of martial arts. They should know how to defend themselves. I'm serious. It's a scary, dangerous world out there. You got to take care of yourself. So watch Amy Cuddy's video, read Gavin de Becker's book, and back to anatomy. Okay. Your voice commands your body and spirit. What we say is who we become, right? What we think is who we become. Do you agree with that? What we think, which is what we say, is who we become. And things like, I can't, I won't, I'm a skeptic, I don't like that, these are negative terms, which will set you up for failure. If you come to me and tell me, I can't do well, I'm going to say, why are you wasting my time and your time? You can't? Did you not read the book about the little choo-choo train? Did you not read that book as a kid? What did the little choo-choo train say? I think I can, I think I can, I can, I can. I did, right? Oh, I know it's 9 o'clock. When I have a 2-hour lecture, just so you know, I don't break early. I don't break. I just keep on going. Because I'm on a roll. I'm that choo-choo train, right? But if you got to go to the bathroom, for heaven's sakes, go. Okay? I mean, you won't bother me at all or offend me at all. Just don't walk in front of the classroom, walk down the sides if you would. Okay? But I will let you out 10 minutes early. I'll give you that time back. I'll let you out 10 minutes early. Okay? That way you can get to the cafeteria, get something to eat before everybody else gets over there. So on Wednesdays we'll go till, what, 9:40 instead of 9:50? Okay? Cool? All right. Things like I can, I am, I believe, it is done, I can do it. Those are positive terms which bring positive things to you. Okay? So think about this. From this point forward, this is important, test question. From this point forward, everything I talk about in anatomy will be referred back to what's called the anatomic reference point. The anatomic reference point in humans is a human being standing in an upright position, all right, hands at the side, palms facing forward, all right, in an erect position like this. This is anatomic reference point in human anatomy. Now you say, big deal. Well, it is a big deal because everything I talk about will reference this position. Because I can't have the chaos and inconsistencies of someone having to tell me how the patient was standing every time they describe something to me. Does that make sense? So my thumb is always lateral to my little finger no matter how I'm holding my hands. This is always my right hand no matter how I'm turned. Have you not heard people say once sometimes when I say, well, where was the bump? Well, it was on my right side, but their left side. You ever heard someone say that? What? This is my right side no matter how I'm standing. The radius is always lateral to the ulna, no matter if I'm in a pronated or supinated position. Does that make sense? So from henceforth, I will always refer back to anatomic reference point forever and ever and ever. And I will set you up sometime down the road, I promise you, by giving you a scenario, having you tell me where something is, describing how a person's standing, and I don't care how they're standing, you always go back to the anatomic reference point, always. All right? Note, the palms face forward. Palms face forward. This is called the ventral surface of the hand, the anterior surface of the hand. It's also called the volar surface of the hand. Okay? I'm not going to go over planes. You can do this. We divide the body into planes, different planes. Sagittal plane divides the body into right and left parts. Coronal plane is front and back. And transverse or horizontals up and down, or top and bottom. Okay? Read those over on your own. So I have this lady in this plane. What plane is that right there? The yellow plane. Coronal. What the blue plane? Sagittal. The pink plane. Transverse or horizontal, yes. All right, don't do that. For your first exam, some of you have already been doing this. I'm going to give you 2 points credit on your first exam if you take a selfie in front of my door. Now, I'm not so egocentric that I, care that you have to have my door in your life. But I've had students tell me in the past, I didn't know where your office was. So I'm going to give you 2 points to come find my office. So in the future, when you want to come see me, you'll know where my office is. All right? But you got to take your picture in front of my door, like these ladies did last trimester. But you got to have it labeled. Now, Clarence sent me his yesterday with just his first name on it, not his last name. But Wobolinski, or how do you say that? Woboleski, there it is. It's a great name. I'll get it down eventually. So he just put his first name on there. But put your first and last name on there. And there's all kinds of different ways to label these. Okay? But that way I have your picture, I have your name on it. So I see picture name, kind of like the pictures we see here. So send me that over the next week. You have until next Wednesday at 5 o'clock to get those to me. Next week, and just send them to me. If you can't take a selfie, have someone else take your picture for you. And send it to you. If you don't know how to do this labeling stuff in here, y'all know how to do this, don't you? How to label pictures? If you don't, if you're old school like me, don't ask one of these young whippersnappers how to do it. They'll show you. All right. Directional terms. I'm going to spend time with this because you use these the rest of your life. Superior. What's superior mean? Up. Some of y'all yesterday on those quizzes you turned me do not know these directional terms. I'm going to give you some examples of some of the things y'all said yesterday, but superior. Craniocephalic also means toward the head. Inferior means what? Toward the floor, all right? Toward the floor, toward the feet. Also, words like caudal, caudad mean that inferior concept. Anterior is my front side, my ventral surface. You had to define this word ventral yesterday, right? On your lab quiz you did. Ventral means the front. Dorsal means the back. Posterior, dorsal, back. The dorsal fin of a shark is on the back, right? Medial means what? Toward the middle, toward the midline. Lateral means toward the side. What's ipsilateral mean? Same side. What's contralateral? Opposite sides. Proximal versus distal. I don't know where y'all got this thing about the ribs being proximal to each other yesterday, but a lot of y'all put that on your isn't that what they put? Yeah. 5 or 6 people put the same thing. The ribs are proximal to each other. I'm not sure what that means. So Dr. S counted wrong, so we couldn't figure out what you meant by that. Proximal means toward the trunk or toward the origin. Distal means away from. Distal means away from. From this moment forward, this is my arm. The area of my anatomy between my shoulder and my elbow is called the arm. Between the elbow and the wrist is called the forearm. My arm is proximal to my forearm. My forearm is distal to my arm. From this point forward, the area between my hip and my knee is called my thigh. Between my knee and my ankle is called my leg. And you know this innately, because if you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and you order thighs and give you legs, you want your money back, right? Well, that's the same thing on chicken, okay? The leg is between the knee and the ankle, and the thigh is between the knee and the hip, all right? My thigh is proximal to my leg. Is my thigh also superior to my leg? Yes. My nose is superior to my belly button. Do you agree? Is it also proximal? No. Because I'm dealing with central midline structures, trunkal. We don't use the word proximal distal, it deals with trunk and head. Superior, inferior only apply there. On the extremities, proximal, distal, superior, inferior both apply. My carpus, my wrist, is distal to my elbow. My manus, my hand, is inferior to my shoulder. Okay, what if I'm doing this? Is my hand still inferior to my shoulder? Yes. Because everything is referenced to anatomic position always and forevermore. Point made? Okay. Superficial versus deep, surface versus deep, that's self-explanatory. Just like internal versus external. Central versus peripheral. Central means toward the center, peripheral means toward the edge. Imagine a bullseye target. The bullseye is central. As you go outward, it's peripheral. Plantar is the sole of my foot. Now, the foot's weird, okay? Because the foot embryologically changes its orientation. Dr. S will go over this with you. The sole of my foot, the plantar surface of my foot, is also called the volar surface, which is actually also the ventral surface of your foot. Ooh, that's weird. The sole of my foot is the plantar surface, is the volar surface, is the ventral surface of my foot. Just like the hand. The palm of my hand is the ventral surface, is the anterior surface, is the volar surface, is the palmar surface of my hand. This, the back of my hand, is the posterior surface of my hand, is the dorsal surface of my hand. So is the top of my foot the dorsal surface of my foot? It is. And it's weird, but when she explains how it develops embryologically to you, you'll understand why that's the case. Top of my foot's dorsal surface, ventral surface is the plantar surface. Parietal means wall. Parietal means wall. These bones right here are called the parietal bones. They form the walls of the skull, of the cranial fossa, of the cranial cavity. Visceral refers to organs. Visceral, organs. Afferent and efferent. Anybody know what those mean? Afferent means to what? Afferent means to conduct toward the central structure. Efferent means to conduct away from the central structure. So, a nerve cell carrying sensory information, a sensory neuron would be afferent or efferent. Which one? Afferent. A motor neuron is efferent because it conducts away from the central nervous system. Supine versus prone. Supine means laying face up. Prone means laying face down. Same thing as procumbent. I always remember that because when I'm shooting a gun, I'm in a prone position. If I'm laying down like this, that's prone. All right? And rostral. What's rostral mean? Toward the nose. Rostral nostril. That's how you remember that. Rostral nostril. Here's these terms. You go over this in yourself. Superior, cranial, medial, lateral. Go over these. Review this. Regions of the body, read on your own these different regions. The umbilical region, the pectoral region, the sternal region, facial region, carpal region. The word manus, M-A-N-U-S, means hand. Manus means hand. So if I ever refer to the manus, I'm referring to the hand. You go over this on your own. Flexion. Flexion, when you're in utero, when you're in your mama, you're all flexed. Everything's all flexed. And then when you're born and begin to stand up, you extend everything, all right? By definition, flexion is a distoproximal movement in a sagittal plane. Wow. Distoproximal movement in a sagittal plane. Let's look at this. If I'm going to flex my elbow, yes? I'm going to flex my elbow. I'm moving from distal to proximal in a sagittal plane. Make sense? Sagittal plane, this plane right here, sagittal, distal proximal sagittal plane. Okay? Extension is a proximal distal movement in a sagittal plane, so it's opposite. Does that make sense? Abduction, adduction. Abduction moves in a coronal plane, this plane right here. So to abduct means to move, take away. The reason you see these aliens here, it's abduction. You're abducted by aliens, right? Okay. Abduction means to take you away, right? So if I abduct, I move away from midline, adduct back toward midline. Abduct, adduct. And I usually say abduction or adduction because abduction and adduction sound a lot alike, especially in my ignorant East Texas drawl. Right? So abduction, abduction, adduction. All right, in a coronal plane. Those are good test questions. Flexion, extension of the elbow, abduction, adduction. Flexion of the head and neck, extension of the head and neck. And all the way back to hyperextension. Flexion, extension. What about, let's look at this now, and you'll miss this if you're not paying attention. This is my shoulder joint. You agree right here? Shoulder joint, glenohumeral joint. Can y'all see me? I'm sorry. I'm used to having this table this far up here, and I tend to stand up in this area. I apologize. This is shoulder joint. If I flex my shoulder or extend my shoulder, we cool with that? Flexion of the shoulder, extension of the shoulder. What about flexion of the humerus? Is that the same thing as flexing the shoulder? This is the humerus. It can only move at the shoulder joint. So flexing shoulder, flexing humerus, flexing arm is all the same thing. What if I flex my forearm? What am I doing? I'm also flexing my elbow, right? Flex forearm, flex elbow. Flex hip, right? Flex hip. Flex thigh, same thing. I'll make sure you understand that later on, I promise. All right, flexion extension. Here we have flexion of the shoulder or the arm. Here's extension of the shoulder of the arm. Here's flexion of the thigh. Here's extension of the thigh. Okay, cool. Flexion extension. Flexion extension. Uh-oh. As my grandmama said, here comes a fly in the buttermilk. I don't know why that saying came around, but it did. The foot is weird. If you extend your toes or point your toes, that's called plantar flexion. If you bring your toes up toward your tibia, your shin, that's called dorsiflexion. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. The only place we use that's in the foot. Just get over it. But which one's extended? Just get over it. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, okay? That happens at the ankle joint. Your ankle joint, your talocrural joint, your joint between your talus and your tibia, is a hinge joint capable of flexion and extension. We'll talk about that later on. But this is dorsiflexion, this is plantar flexion. Okay? What about this? What about that movement right there? Abduction or adduction? Well, she's moving the manus away from the body, right? So that would be abduction, right? Don't shake your head, yes. I just lied to you, and you let me do it. Is my body posture not saying lying? If I take this motion right here she's doing and go into anatomic position, I am adducting. All right? I told you, you got to go back to anatomic position, right? If I go like this to anatomic position, I'm adducting. I'm moving toward. Do you see that back there? I'm moving toward. I'm adducting the hand. It's also called ulnar deviation. And students have fits with this. You think deviate means to get away from, but it doesn't. Deviate means to move. To deviate means to move off course. In this case, we're deviating toward the ulna. This is your ulna on this side. So if I adduct my hand, I'm deviating toward the ulna. If I abduct my hand, I'm deviating toward the radius. So it's called radial deviation. And that's going to give you fits unless you understand it. And you'll miss it on the test. I'm going to ask it. You're going to miss it. If you don't understand, it means to move toward, not to move away from. Okay? Forewarned, I will tell you every test question I ever ask you. Probably, or at least 90% of them. That's why you got to listen to me. All right. Flexion, extension, radial deviation, ulnar deviation, pronation, supination. We'll get to in just a second. Abduction, adduction of the fingers. Well, that's weird. On the fingers, our point of reference is your middle finger. So to move away from the middle finger is abduction. To move toward it is adduction. Okay? Flexion, extension. What about this? What do you call this? Lateral bending or lateral flexion. I got lots of kinesiology majors in here. That's right. If I say something doesn't jive, tell me. Don't you call that lateral flexion? All right, stand up. I'm getting tired. Stand up. Show me flexion of your wrist. Make sure everyone's doing this. Show me flexion of your hip. Flexing the hip. Bringing the thigh anteriorly, okay? You can do it without flexing your knee. Make sure everyone's moving their hip anteriorly. Flexion of the shoulder. Okay? Flexion of the knee. Bend your knee. Flexion of your head. Every head bowed, every eye closed. All right? Show me extension of the above. Extend your head. Okay? Extend your knee. Straighten your legs out, right? Extend your shoulder. Go back with them. Extend your hip. Backwards, right? Extension. Extend your wrist. Everyone understand those? I'm going to tell you, you have got to know these movements, and they seem simplistic, but when I talk about muscles to you, I'm going to expect you to know these. Okay? All right, show me abduction of the arm at the shoulder. How about, come on, abduct the hand at the wrist, abduct, which is, would that be radial or ulnar deviation? Radial deviation. The thigh, spread your legs. Fingers, spread your fingers. Okay, adduction of the shoulder. Put your arms down. Okay, adduction of the hand, ulnar deviation, right? Adduction of the thigh, put your legs together. Adduction of fingers, put your fingers together. Bless you. Okay? All right, sit down. You must know these movements. Okay, am I going to ask this on test? Uh-huh. Okay. Rotation. Moving a body part around its central axis. I'm rotating the spine. What about the head? The cervical region. Rotation, right? What about the shoulder? Can I rotate the shoulder? Sure. Look. Let me bend my elbow. Medial rotation is movement toward the midline, or internal rotation, medial rotation of the shoulder joint, versus external or lateral rotation. Okay? Medial internal rotation, external lateral rotation. Any questions about that? Can I do that with the hip? Internal rotation, sassy, external rotation. Supination. For the purposes of this class, and I realize you can use the word supination, pronation dealing with the ankle joint, but it's really more complicated than that in the ankle joint, so I'm going to let the biomechanic people talk about that and try too. We're going to talk about supination, pronation of the forearm. Okay, that's really where the words apply. In anatomic position, my forearms are supinated. Pronation is rotation of the palm in a medial and posterior direction, such as this. This is pronation. Supination, pronation. Supination, asking for a cup of soup, right? Or pronation, which is actually movement at the proximal radial ulnar joint. And don't worry about those joints right now. We'll talk about that later. All right? Doc said spend 30 minutes a day on the bike. I want you to start exercising. I can do that, right? Lateral rotation, external rotation. I took these pictures this morning before I came to class. Put them up there. Medial rotation, internal rotation, right? Why don't y'all believe that? What is that? Pronation. You may have an opportunity next week on a lab quiz to tell me all these movements. That's a hint. Pronation. What's that? What's this movement right here? Is that rotation? Is this rotation? No, it's not. Let me show you. This is rotation. This is circumduction. You see the difference? This is rotation. This is circumduction. Can you see the difference in those two? Circumduction is really a combination of flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. Okay? Where this is rotation. Circumduction, you can do it with the thigh as well. Inversion, eversion. Inversion deals with the foot. Inversion's turning the sole so it faces medial, or inverting, or turning it inward. Eversion is rotating the foot or turning the foot outward. Eversion, inversion. Sometimes inversion is called supination, but true supination's in this picture right here. It's much more complicated motion than inversion, eversion. And supination of the foot really occurs in the subtalar joints. And again, that's more than what we need to know right now. Eversion is turning the sole of the foot outward, sometimes called pronation of the foot. I've got some athletic trainers in here and some shoe salesmen and things. So you talk about pronation, supination with your sprinters, and I've got a lady in here who's a track and field expert. All right. So I don't care if you use those terms, but I'm going to use supination, pronation for the arms, inversion, eversion for the foot. Okay. Here's inversion, eversion. Circumduction, we'll go quickly through this. Inversion, eversion with these pictures on your own. I'll make sure I cover all this. Protraction, moving the body part anteriorly. What if I take my head and go like this? I'm protracting the head. What if I do this with my shoulders? I'm protracting my shoulders. Retraction is movement posteriorly or backwards. Retracting my shoulders. Retraction. Retraction. Elevation, raise it upward. Depression, push it downward. All right, so let's look at these. So here's elevation of the shoulder, depression of the shoulder. Protraction, retraction. What's this lady doing here? She's elevating, right? She's doing this. She's elevating her shoulders, right? What about this? She's depressing, right? Depressing. Here versus here. What about here? Protracting. Or of the scapula, we could call this also abduction of the scapula. Abduction. Moving the scapula laterally. What about here? It's retraction of the shoulder, but it's also adduction of the scapula. It's adduction. Because I'm moving the scapula medially. Cool? The jaw. Protraction. Protraction. Retraction. All right. You see that? Yeah. Elevation. Elevation means to close your mouth. Depression, open the mouth. I remember that because every time my wife opens her mouth, it depresses me. You'll never forget it. Elevation, or say what? That's right. What's up? All right, stand up. We got 10 minutes left. Come on, hang in there with me. We'll make it. We'll make it. We're going to make it. Rotation, medial rotation of the humerus. Show me. Turn the humerus inward, right? Now, you don't have to flex your elbow all the time, but you can see it better if you do, right? I mean, it's easier to see than that, right? Lateral rotation of the femur. Sassy. Supination of the forearm. Pronation of the forearm. All right? Circumduction of the arm. Don't hit your neighbor. Inversion of the foot. Now make inversion. That's all right. That's what I'm here for. Make sure you're putting that foot inward. Turn it inward. Now, not plantar flexion now, but rotation. Inversion. Turn it inward. Everybody doing this? Inward. Look around you. Make sure everybody's turned that foot inward. If they're not, tell me. I'm going to come holler at them. Inward, inward. Inward, inward. Turn the sole inward. That's inversion of the foot. Everybody got it? Inversion. Get on, Dr. S. Don't let them pull slack on. Just go on that back row back there. They're trying to anything get away from me. Oh, Greg does. Watch Greg back there now, man. All right. Maria, keep them straight back there. All right, we got it? Invert, okay. Eversion. Turn it outward. I'm going to be like this one day. I better watch out and walk like that. All right. Turn that foot outward. You got me everted? All right. All right. All right, protraction. Show me protraction of your jaw. Protract it. Look it out there. Come on. Come on. You want a piece of me? Protract your shoulder. You got to see y'all. Come on, one time. Retract the jaw. Come on. Come on. Get in there. Crack it in there. Well, hello there. Y'all, some of y'all from Arkansas, I know that. Oh, you know that. Retract the shoulder. And you've seen folks like this. Drinking beer and watching race cars. That's right. All right. Elevation. Elevate the jaw. Shut your mouth. Elevate the shoulder. Okay. Depress the jaw. Shoulder. Okay. Sit down. All right. Good job. All right, so what's that? Protraction. You're going to treat a lot of people with this problem. It's called forward head posture. And we'll talk about this later on, the tremendous myriad of problems this causes patients. Okay? Flexion, right? Extension here. If I do this, if I'm bench pressing, what am I doing to my shoulder? Am I flexing it or extending it? It's called flexing the shoulder. Yes, flexion. Go over these on your own. Don't you do these on your own? You can go. If you've got questions, ask me in lab about these. I put this picture up here. This person has a problem. They're horribly flat-footed. Do you see this? There's no arch. They have no transverse or longitudinal arch. And look what it's done to their ankles. You see how it's completely thrown the whole structure of the foot off? All their weight's to the medial side of this foot. This person has chronic problems. I just put it there for the heck of it. All right. What's this? It's a horse. Yes, very good. All right. Darn, we're making progress. All right. So what movement's this? I should have been more specific. What movement is this? Lateral flexion. Yes, lateral flexion, sure. What movement's this? Now, I put this up here because we're going to talk about this later on. Hyperinversion injuries. Hyperinversion injuries. And it's just to show you all these ligaments that can be affected in hyperinversion injuries. And we'll talk about that later on when we talk about the ankle joint. Okay? So I just kind of put up here to show you. Retraction, protraction. What's this? Dorsiflexion. Okay. Close this hour up. What's the word homeostasis mean? It means balance. And you got to have balance in your life. Because when you become unbalanced, you become sick. Okay, that's what chiropractic is all about, is reestablishing homeostasis or reestablishing a balance. All right? Due to vertebral subluxations. Or as Dr. Jim said, vertebral subluxations. I can still hear him with his cigar. He smokes cigars like a fiend. He'd go, vertebral subluxations. Terrible thing. Isn't that right? That's what he sounded like, wouldn't it? Stress. What is stress? Okay, anything that causes the body to go out of homeostasis is stress. Is stress bad? Can be. When those guys when people go up in outer space and spend weeks or months or years on the space station up in space, what happens to the density of their bones? It decreases because they've lost the stress of gravity. So when they come back to Earth, they have to spend time letting their bones recalcify to bear weight. So stress is not always bad. Unmanaged stress is bad. Unrelinquishing, unmanaged stress is bad. And you live in a time and a generation where there is stress from every direction. And I showed you one of the biggest stressors is that cell phone. It's a stressor. Every time it goes off, what is that? It puts your body into a fight or flight situation. It does. So learn now to handle stress. Drugs and alcohol are not a way to handle stress. They're not. Meditation, music, exercise, prayer are excellent ways to handle stress. Prayer is probably the best of all. It's ways to handle stress. When you realize you're not in control, that someone else really is, ultimately, it's a tremendous stress reliever in your life. We always think we're in control. I'm in control. I got to take care of it. I got to do it. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's a whole other story. So manage stress now. If you don't, you're going to get sick. Y'all are so pretty right now. Your faces are bright and smiley and shiny. Y'all are just like this. You know, week 8, 9 when I walk in here, this is going to be you. Hi. You doing okay? Yeah, fine. You going to make it? You wait. I'll remind you of that at week 8 or 9, okay? I'll remind you of that. Disease comes from unmanaged stress. We talk about the signs of disease, which are objective signs doctors can see, versus symptoms, which are subjective, which you feel. I have a headache, sign or symptom. I have a headache, sign or symptom. Symptom. You have a brain tumor, sign. God forbid, I hope not, but you know. Etiology means the cause of disease. What causes the disease? Diagnosis. It's what you're going to spend your life doing, diagnosing diseases and fixing them. That's what you do as doctors. We talk about the patient's complaints, the subjective signs. They will teach you in your clinical reasoning class what's called OPQRST, which is another way to look at diagnosing patients' signs and symptoms. I use what's called a SOAP technique, subjective, objective assessment and plan. They'll also teach you this in clinics across the street where you write down the patient's complaining or presenting signs and symptoms, what your objective findings are, what your assessment is, and what you plan to do about it. Just a little acronym to help you remember how to work through a patient procedure. In medicine or the healing arts, it's proven that if you don't think of it, you won't diagnose it. Does that make sense? They've done studies where they surveyed doctors who attended seminars on particular topics. On the weekend, on Monday morning, there was a demonstrable increase in the diagnosis of those topics that they were covered that weekend. They diagnosed it more often than they did prior to attending that seminar. Why? Why would they go to a seminar on Saturday and on Monday diagnose more of those diseases than they saw the week before? They're thinking about it, right? It's on their mind. So to help you remember things, there's all types of acronyms. I like the one called DAMN IT, because when I forget it, I go, damn it, I forgot that. All right? Degenerative anomalies, metabolic, neoplastic, infectious, and trauma. It's just an acronym to help you think of problems. 56-year-old male presents with low back problem. 56-year-old male presents with low back problem. What degenerative problems can cause that? What anomaly or autoimmune diseases can cause that? What metabolic diseases, what neoplastic diseases, what infectious diseases, and what traumas or toxins can cause a 56-year-old male to have low back problems? You see what I'm saying? It's just a way to diagnose. The OPQRST is what you'll teach you in clinical reasoning. Same thing. When did it start? Does it get better or worse with movements? What's the quality of pain? Where does it radiate, or where's the region of pain? How severe is it? And how long has it been going on? They're going to teach you this in clinical reasoning class. So use this slide when they cover that in clinical reasoning, because they're going to cover that in there. All right? Part systems, another way to diagnose subluxations. Is there any pain or tenderness? Is there asymmetry? Is there a range of motion abnormality? Any tone, temperature changes? And what special tests might I use, like taking radiographs, things like that? So I know I'm kind of zooming through this last part of this, but I want you to read this over on your own. It's pretty self-explanatory, just ways to make you think about things. Eponyms is the use of people's names to diagnose diseases. Anybody know what Bell's palsy is? Anybody know where Bell's nerve is? Does it make sense Bell's palsy involves Bell's nerve? It doesn't. That makes sense, but it's not the same. Bell's palsy, paralysis of cranial nerve 7. Bell's nerves, the long thoracic nerve, have nothing to do with each other. So eponyms can be confusing. We don't use many eponyms. We try to use the correct anatomic names, but sometimes these eponyms are so ingrained, like Schwann cells. Dr. S didn't even teach you neurolimocytes. She teaches you Schwann cells, because Schwann's an eponym. All right, pros and cons of that. Different approaches to healing arts, read that over on your own. And we have a chance to shine. We don't have time to do that. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is, Dr. S, no. What should I do? Give him a chance to shine first thing in the morning? Do it tomorrow? Okay. Tomorrow morning, you give me the first 5 minutes of class. We'll start off with a chance to shine, and then I'll turn you loose and let Dr. S start embryology. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye. Oh, wait. Oh, two of my favorite people.
You can go
Get them
first.
quick.
Hey guys, welcome to Parker. I'm the president of Tri7, and I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Deanna Allegar. I'm going to be giving a talk tomorrow in this classroom at 11 for time management. So, is everyone aware? Is everyone aware of that? I know Dr. Elbel had mentioned a few things, and there's been some announcements. So, I encourage you guys to be there. Parker is a whole different ball game, so try to come, and I'll give you some good tips. And Paige has an announcement about soccer.
Hi, guys. I'm Paige Rabinowitz. I'm also Tri7, and I'm captain of the girls soccer team. I know Steve sent an email, but I know half of you don't read them. But our tryouts are going to be next Tuesday and potentially Thursday at 5:30 at North Lake. If you guys play soccer or have played soccer or want to try to play soccer, it's a lot of fun. Cairo Games is definitely the best, like my favorite part of the year, probably most people that go. Also, the guys are right after at 6:30 on Tuesday, Thursday. If anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook or my email that went out. It's on there. And yeah, just let me know. Thanks, Soccer.
Thank y'all.
Good to see you.
Awesome. Hey, do I have Samuel Alaya here, Jasmine Denton, Willissa Galt, Brandon Hartson, David Shinsky, Kabi Patel. If those people are here, come see me.